Hello, my Drifties. Welcome back to another quiet evening tale. Tonight, I'll tell you a gentle story, one that feels like a warm cup of tea on a chilly evening. It's a story about patience, about finding where you truly belong, and about the quiet magic of simple things. As you listen, let your body relax, your thoughts soften, and your breath slow. Let the words wrap around you like a cozy blanket, leading you toward rest. This is the story of the little lavender teapot. In a quiet corner of a seaside town, where the scent of salt and lavender mingled in the air, sat a small antique shop with a faded blue door. The paint was chipped at the edges, softened by the gentle touch of the ocean breeze. A rustling bell above the door chimed softly whenever someone entered, its sound light and silvery, like a memory slipping through time. Inside, the shop was warm and dimly lit, the golden glow of old lamps casting long, sleepy shadows across the wooden floor. Every inch of the space was filled with treasures from another time. Books with pages the color of autumn leaves, lace doilies softened by age, and porcelain cups stacked neatly on mahogany shelves. The air smelled of polished oak, a hint of vanilla, and something floral, as though a bouquet of pressed roses had been tucked between the bookshelves long ago. On a sturdy walnut table near the back of the shop sat a small teapot. It was round and plump, its porcelain body a soft shade of cream, with tiny painted sprigs of blue lavender twirling across its surface. Its handle was smooth and curved just right for a careful hand to hold, and its spout had a graceful tilt, as though it had been designed to pour only the gentlest of tea. A delicate gold rim shimmered faintly when the light hit it just so. The little teapot had been there for many years, watching as customers came and went. It had seen pairs of hands pick up other teapots, sleek, modern ones with sharp edges and glossy finishes, while it remained untouched. It had watched tall silver kettles being taken home, while it sat patiently, waiting for someone who might appreciate its old-fashioned charm. Sometimes, when the shop was quiet, the little teapot would listen to the murmuring voices of the other objects around it. A grandfather clock with brass hands whispered the time in gentle chimes. A set of worn leather-bound books hummed softly to one another about the stories within their pages. Even the glass display case, filled with delicate trinkets, sighed now and then when the door opened, stirring the dust into the beams of afternoon sunlight. One evening, as the sun began its descent over the sea, turning the sky into watercolor shades of lavender and peach, The little teapot heard the door's familiar chime. Footsteps shuffled across the wooden floor, slow, steady, carrying the weight of years. The scent of sea salt and wool drifted in with the visitor. The little teapot felt, somehow, that something was about to change. The footsteps moved slowly through the shop, pausing here and there, as if the visitor was savoring each object's quiet presence. The little teapot listened carefully, feeling the warmth of the afternoon light fade as the sun slipped lower beyond the shop windows. From its place on the walnut table, the teapot could see the visitor now. A kind-looking old man wrapped in a thick wool coat, the color of stormy seas. His scarf, soft and worn at the edges, smelled faintly of the ocean breeze, as if it had soaked in the salty air from years of seaside walks. His hands, gentle and lined with age, brushed lightly over the stack of ceramic plates. Then a wooden box filled with silver spoons. Then, at last, he noticed the little teapot. He reached out carefully, his fingers running along its smooth porcelain surface. His touch was warm, and the teapot felt for the first time in a long while that it was truly seen. He turned it slowly in his hands, admiring the tiny painted lavender sprigs, the delicate gold rim, and the graceful arch of its handle. A soft hum rumbled in the man's throat, a sound of quiet approval. "This one," he murmured, his voice deep and thoughtful, as if he were choosing an old friend rather than a simple teapot. The shopkeeper, a woman with silver-streaked hair and kind eyes, stepped forward and smiled. "A fine choice," she said, wrapping the teapot in crisp brown paper. The paper crinkled softly as she tucked it into a sturdy paper bag, folding the edges neatly. "It's been waiting for just the right home." The little teapot felt the warmth of the paper pressing gently around it, cocooning it in a softness it had never known. It rocked slightly as the man carried it outside. The shop's familiar bell gave one last chime as the door closed behind them. Outside, the air was crisp and tinged with the scent of the sea. The sky had now deepened into a dusky violet, the first stars just beginning to flicker awake, and the little teapot, though hidden away in its paper wrapping, could feel the rhythm of the man's steady footsteps, the sound of pebbles shifting beneath his boots as he walked towards home. For the first time in its life, the little teapot wasn't waiting anymore. It was moving forward, carried by hands that knew the weight of stories, toward a place it had never been, but somehow already belonged. The journey was not long, but the little teapot savored every moment. The steady rhythm of footsteps, the soft rustling of paper, and the distant hush of the waves lapping against the shore. It all felt like the start of something new, something warm. At last the man stepped onto a wooden porch, his boots making a hollow, familiar sound against the planks. A quiet jingle of keys, a soft creak of a door swinging open, and then the little teapot felt the warmth of home. Inside, the air was cozy and rich, with the scent of something faintly spiced, perhaps cinnamon, perhaps the lingering memory of tea brewed earlier in the day. A low fire crackled in the hearth, its golden glow flickering over the well-loved furniture. Stacks of old books and a window that framed the darkening sea beyond. The man set the bag gently on a wooden kitchen table, unwrapping the little teapot with the same care one might give a fragile treasure. The crisp paper fell away, and the teapot breathed in its new surroundings. Warm wooden counters, shelves lined with jars of dried herbs and tea leaves, and a small window that let in the whisper of the evening tide. With a satisfied sigh, the man reached for a polished kettle, filling it with fresh water before placing it on the stove. As the flame flickered to life beneath it, he selected a tin from the shelf, opening with a quiet pop. The scent of chamomile and honey drifted into the air, soft and sweet, wrapping around the little teapot like a gentle embrace. The water soon began to murmur, tiny bubbles rising and swirling, singing their quiet song. The man carefully scooped fragrant tea leaves into the teapot, then poured the steaming water inside, filling it with warmth for the very first time. A soft curl of steam lifted into the air, carrying the promise of comfort and rest. As the tea steeped, the man took a deep breath, leaning against the counter, watching the little teapot with quiet appreciation. Outside, the waves continued their steady rhythm, the wind brushing gently against the window panes. The room, the house, the world itself seemed to settle into a hush, as if everything was ready for rest. At last, the man poured himself a cup, cradling it in his hands as he settled into a worn armchair by the fire. He took a slow sip, the warmth seeping into his bones, the taste soothing as a lullaby. The little teapot sat contentedly on the table, feeling for the first time truly at home. No longer waiting, no longer forgotten, but cherished, useful, and exactly where it was meant to be. Outside, the waves whispered their endless lullaby, and inside, the fire flickered, the tea cooled, and the house sighed into a peaceful slumber. And soon, so did the man, and so too did you. Good night.